Welcome to the Private Practice Pro podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping therapists cultivate success. Here's your host, Kelley Stevens.
This podcast is sponsored by Simple Practice. I've been using Simple Practice since 2016, which has helped me run a smooth and profitable private practice over the years. It has simplified everything from scheduling to billing, giving me a better balance between the work I'm so passionate about and the family time I'm not willing to miss out on. Check out the episode notes to get a free 2-month trial of Simple Practice, my preferred all-in-one HIPAA-compliant solution.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Private Practice Pro podcast. Krysta, I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm going to have you introduce yourself. So tell everyone where you are, who you are, what your business is, and then we'll get right into it.
Perfect. So hi, thank you so much for having me, Kelley. So I'm Krysta. I'm a licensed clinical social worker located in Central Florida. I own a virtual counseling practice, Fulfilling Motherhood. I've been doing that for about 3 years now.
Awesome. And so maybe tell us just a little bit about your business, because you're a group and who you serve and that kind of thing.
Definitely. So we are a group of 6 therapists, and we serve primarily pregnant and postpartum women, just kind of helping them navigate through that transition.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's funny as we're recording this episode because I'm like 3 weeks away from giving birth.
I know it. It's so exciting.
So I'm glad to be talking to you. So today, this episode is going to be similar to some of the episodes we've done in the past, where we're going to talk through just some kind of like coaching business questions that Krysta has about her business, and, just kind of brainstorm. So whatever you're hearing, if you're listening to this podcast now and you're driving or something, we recorded live, or live is the wrong word, but in the moment, we didn't prepare our answers. So exactly. We're just going to go through questions, and you and I are going to work on it together and kind of, I think that a lot of times as therapy practice owners, we have similar questions. So, in some ways your guess is as good as mine, and we'll kind of work through it together and see where we get. And hopefully this is helpful for other people to listen to.
Yes, for sure.
So where do you want to start? What's the burning question of the hour?
Burning question, top of the list, transitioning off insurance panels.
Let's just start with the biggest one.
Yes. I'm like, this is like hard hitting. We need to go here first.
Okay. So walk us through what panels are you on? Mm-hmm. What are they paying you? And what do your contracts look like?
Yeah. So I'm on panel with Aetna, Cigna, and United Healthcare, like Optum. So they pay anywhere from like the lowest 102 a session to the highest 109. Our self-pay rate...
It's not a very big range.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Our self-pay rate is 135, which I feel like deep down I know is a little low. I have some imposter syndrome with like raising that number. I did do like a little sweep through our clients, and it looks like right now we have like 15 to 20% of our current clients are self-pay. So I'm just like, how do we do this? I'm like, do I drop one panel at a time? Do I raise my fee? Like, what do we do? And I feel like there's like that added pressure of like, this is going to not just impact like my personal income, but also like the other therapists that are working with me. So I just want to make sure I'm making the right decision.
It's a hard one. So the questions I would have for you would be like, one, do you want the whole practice to go to being cash pay, or do you want to keep some clinic? Like, would there be a benefit to having some of the clinicians stay on panels?
Wow. I've never even thought about that ever in my whole entire life.
I mean, because certainly, like, I know there's a practice here that I work a lot with where some of the more established clinicians, as they've built their cash pay practices, have transitioned off of panels, but people who are just starting out are still on some panels.
Right. That's like a really good thing to think about. And I think like in terms of, I feel like one motivator for me personally getting off panels is the like administrative role that I'm playing behind the scenes in managing all of that.
Right.
Like I did just get an administrative assistant, and she's great. And like, I hope to have her kind of help take on some of those roles, but like I'm still in that kind of onboarding process with her.
Right.
But that is a thought of maybe even just pulling them, like who wants to stay on panel versus not. Because a few of them are also like, I think in the probably next like year or two wanting to open their own practice.
Right.
So I guess if they were wanting to take insurance, it would be beneficial for them to just stay on panel. That way they would just be able to not have to go through that whole process again.
And then also because are all the people who work with you are 1099 or some of them W-2?
No, they're all 1099.
So, I think you'd have to talk to, because I'm more of a cash pay specialist, you'd have to talk to more of an insurance specialist on this topic in particular. So like owed my lack of knowledge on this one. But I think if they're 1099, it should be that like, and you're paying them as a 1099, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have to have the entire group be on panel. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that. So you need to talk to someone who's an actual insurance specialist on that. And I do think it's worth at least once you've talked to an insurance specialist, getting a sense from your employees or your 1099s really, like, do they want to stay on panels? Do they not? Is it something that would like trigger them to want to leave if eventually they thought they were going to be on panels,
Right.
So they don't have to do onboarding and offboarding again or whatever. But in terms of for you and just your clientele and your practice, what percentage of your practice do you want to be seeing as insurance-based?
0 would be ideal.
Well,
only in a sense of it's just I would prefer to be able to maintain a less number of clients. Typically I'm seeing like 6 to 8 a week. On the higher end, maybe 10 to 12. But I'm very comfortable at that number. Like that's a very like easygoing, low key number for me. My kids are like home with me part-time and school part-time. So like that just evens it out really nicely where I can also kind of manage that administrative back end as well.
Yeah. And you're running a group. Yeah. So then is your question more like how to get off of the panels, or is it how to build up the cash pay side of the business?
I don't even know. I'm like, should I like drop one at a time? Should I just like cold turkey, just be like, here's my, 90 days to all of you? Because I did a little research. That's like what it is in all my contracts. But yeah. So I think that depends a lot on your current and personal financial situation. I know a lot of people that do it one at a time, because then they feel, like it's not all cold turkey. But, it really depends for you. If like, you're like, okay, you know what? This is just the way we're going to switch the business up. I have some buffer financially. I can do it. Right.
But, like you said, like you do have people working for you. So maybe doing it one at a time every few months over the next couple of years allows all of you to get more comfortable with promoting yourselves.
Right. And like that's kind of another thing where we're at right now. And what one of my questions was with being a group practice, like currently on our social media, it's only myself and then my colleague Sarah who are promoting ourselves. So the rest of my 1099s are part-time. Motherhood may or may not be like their 100% total jam. They see the clients, they like the clients. Like we have other referrals coming in as well that they see. But it's like, do they need to promote themselves somewhere else? Should we be including them more? I feel like I'm balancing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a tough question because you're kind of looking at two different types of business models. Right now, you're in a group practice business model where you have enough referrals coming in to support the people that work for you. And what I think I'm hearing you say, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you were to go cold turkey off of insurance, you wouldn't have the referrals necessarily needed to fill all their practices.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just not sure too, if like, because everyone right now is full, but I'm like, would those clients stay?
Right.
If we went cash pay?
Right.
And we definitely, I feel like one thing that I'm very proud of how we've kind of marketed ourselves is we may be little on social media, but we are very strong within the community. We have really good referral sources there, but also like with those referral sources be less likely to send to
refer
us
to you
once they know we're not on insurance.
Right. Well, so I think this goes back to our first question of talking to an insurance specialist about how, if part of your practice could stay insurance-based or not. Like if some people could stay on panels and some couldn't, depending on the state, the panels that you're in, and the type of employees that you have. And there was a person on my podcast a few weeks ago that does some of those type of questions, Kim, and I'll put her link in the show notes, and then I'll also send it to you when we're done.
Awesome.
So, because I think that would be beneficial to sit down with somebody and really talk through, because like I'm assuming as the business owner, you're profitable on those insurance-based clients that your employees are seeing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then now you're training this administrative person to do that billing for them, right?
Correct. Yes.
So you might keep an arm of your business that's just for therapists in training who ultimately might not stay with you. Because what I'm also hearing you say is like some people will come and go. You're not going to always have, right?
Correct. Yeah. That's the thought.
As they grow and as they want to open their own businesses, if that's what they want to do, they could make that choice. Either they're going to stay with you and eventually go cash pay, or they're going to stay with you and stay insurance-based, or they're going to leave.
Right. Now, I like thinking about it as an arm. I love, like, you really just, like, rocked my world to saying that, because I'm so, like, all or nothing. Like, we all have to do this, or we all have to not do this, where I think potentially be that option of, like, if you want to go cash pay, cool. If you want to stay insurance-based, cool. Like, we'll figure it out.
Right. And I don't know, this is where, like I've said, disclaimer,
Yeah.
anyone who's listening to this, you need to talk to a small business attorney and a real insurance-based specialist, because I'm imagining that every state is going to be different. I know here in California, I know practices that do this. So, but, here in Florida, it's different. So, so that would be one thing to think about. I think the other thing to think about is, let's say you were in a situation where your employees don't want to go cash based. Like, then you need to think about, like, what would some of their options be, and, like, would you help them figure it out or not? And I think the tough part about going right from insurance-based to cash pay in an entire group is really that question of people marketing themselves. And right now they're giving you a split, but they don't have to do any marketing.
Right.
And so if they are to go cash-based and the expectation is that they do more marketing for themselves, they might then ask you for more you might have to change the way the pay structure works,
Right.
Or you slowly build up your cash pay business and then, like, eventually keep the pay structure the way it is, but be able to send them cash pay referrals.
Right.
I might just start out by just you doing it. Like, just you get yourself off of a couple panels.
Yeah.
Really figure out, just look at how it impacts just your census where you live.
Right.
And then once you've done that and you feel like you have some clarity, that will give you a chance to be like, okay, this is, maybe do it with another person and another,
Right. Yeah. And that would be less of a, like, financial kerfunkle.
Right. For them and for you. I mean, you really are.
Yes.
I hear you saying you want to protect your employees from all of a sudden being like, oh my God, we don't have any referrals coming in,
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah, no, that's good. I like that idea. We'll be doing this.
I don't know. Like I said, it's just an idea. So then the other question you brought up was this idea of, will your referral sources still refer to you if you're not insurance-based? And that comes down to, who are your referral sources? So who are, like, your top 3?
Yeah. Our top ones are definitely our local, like, OBGYN practices. So they are a whole, like, system throughout Florida. So they're called Women's Care Florida. So they have practices everywhere. So we get referrals from multiple of their doctors. And then another really great one for us is a like local lactation and like feeding consultant group. They are amazing. So I'd say those are definitely like our top two outside of like word of mouth. We're connecting with like more doulas and things like that. So hopefully we get kind of more of those people in our corner, but those are definitely our biggest ones.
Of those people, are any of those people like what you would consider like friend, like people you could talk to on more of a friend basis?
The lactation group, 100%. Yeah. They're all good
Maybe
buddies.
you could ask them that, you know, I mean, not would you still refer to me, but if you said we are considering switching some of our clinicians to more of a cash-based model, how do you think that would impact your clients that we work with collaboratively?
Right.
Do you think they would like shoot you straight or what?
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worth it to reach out to them. And then in terms of the demographics of where you guys live and where your practice is, do you think that there is cash pay clientele, or would you say that the majority of people want to use their insurance?
I would say there's definitely cash-based clientele around and available.
And are there other cash-based clinicians?
Like in our area?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's like always a big indicator. Like if you have other therapists in your area that are cash-based and full,
yes,
then, you know, you would also be spending a lot more time networking with them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's one of those hard things I often will tell people is like, starting out insurance-based can be great, but then you get to this point where you've gotten pretty big.
Yeah.
And then you feel like there's a cliff, you know, like you feel like, oh my God, I've built this big business, but now I'm almost switching my whole business model, you know?
Yeah. 100. Like, no, like that's exactly how it feels. And like we recently like rebranded from like Harlow Counseling to Fulfilling Motherhood. And like even that, just doing a basic Google search for ourselves now, I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize like how much 3 years of Google has now just poof, gone away.
Well, I mean, first of all, yes, but that happens. You know, people have to change their name. And we had like a couple wild stories about this on the podcast a few times of people having to rebrand for various reasons. But it sounds to me like it's possible. It sounds to me like I would try it. You know, I would try because you're not on every panel now, and you are getting some cash pay clients now.
Yes.
So you could try in just your own solo practice saying no to referral-based new referral clients, and only saying yes to cash-based clients. And maybe what you try to do is really up your referral sources. So rather than relying on the current ones, trying to find some new referral sources within your community and reaching out to them and like starting to get, because I think that the trade-off of cash pay is like, first of all, you're already doing marketing. So like, that's great. A lot of times insurance-based practices are doing none, you know? It's just like, you're just going to spend more time marketing. So what if you started spending more time marketing, started bringing in more cash clients and see what happens?
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely a good idea, and like see where it goes. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul.
Totally. And like, you know, maybe you pitch yourself as a guest on some podcast. Well, obviously you're on this podcast, but like on other motherhood podcasts, and like start getting your own personal name and brand out there.
Yeah.
So that you guys are getting a wider breadth of clients all across Florida, you know, and you never know, you know, and you start working on your social media following and all of that too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So social media, that is one thing I also wanted to
we could go forever
about.
On one. We only did one question so far. Okay, next one.
What should we call it? Yeah, so in listening to previous podcast episodes, especially the ones with Stassi, I remember you saying, like you had someone tell you, like, don't try to sell anything until you hit like 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
And we're at a whole big 269 followers strong. But I will say, in the month since I've emailed you, we had 230 and now we're at almost 270. So like we're going
increasing.
Slow and steady. But with that, and even just thinking that through, I'm like, okay, so that's like a person a day. The road to 10,000 there is huge and very long. And not that I think that it happens overnight by any means, but there are other things that like we want to start working on, like a workbook and a course, or like doing some live workshops, and things like that. And I guess just kind of the likelihood of those types of things being successful with such a small following. I don't know. Or like your thoughts on that.
I mean, everybody has different thoughts on this. Like every person, social media person, is going to tell you something different. But I don't think it's so much about the number as if you take an honest look across all the people you reach out to, and that can be an email list, it can be clients, it can be people in your community, and you say to yourself, okay, what can I estimate would be the number of people that would buy this? That's basically how you're going to determine whether or not it's like it will be profitable yet, you know?
Right.
The reason I often tell people to not start selling anything until their audience is bigger, if they're using social media to sell things, is because, you know, none of us like to be sold to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like.
For sure.
So the benefit of not doing that is that you take a lot of time just building a lot of trust with people and giving away a lot of information for free, you know?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't products take a long time to develop. So like, I know for me, I'm working on a course right now. By the time it launches, we will have worked on it for a year. Well, like in that year, your audience could grow a lot.
Right.
You know?
Right. This is true.
I think the other question is, what are you guys doing to grow your social media following?
Yes. So Kelley McKenna's Reels membership.
I love her.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love her. We did her like private practice academy, and that was also super, super good. And so really trying to like focus on the Reels, focus on posting consistently, trying to like hop in stories as much as we can.
Yeah.
Feel like that, which is crazy because like this week, I feel like we've been a little bit more active in stories, and I've seen clients that are like, wow, I love like you're sharing like, you know, just kind of like the behind the scenes or like the more personal stuff. And so it's like we get the good feedback, but then I still like have this just kind of wall of imposter syndrome of like, gosh, here, let me like show up and like make some scrambled eggs for my kids in the morning. And like I'm just such an awkward person.
Oh my God, we all are, dude. We all are. You should see me like with my selfie stick. How long have you been at it? Like, how long have you been
I would
trying?
say we have been trying like more hardcore for the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. So I would expect you to be kind of where you're at. Have you placed, are you guys boosting any of your content or doing any ads?
No. I can. But
that might be somewhat worth it. Like to try to see, you know, I think that like first 1,000 mark is really hard to get over. And people, you know, like anyone who's selling you stuff on the internet, like just being like, this is how you grow organically on Instagram. Okay.
Right.
They obviously are trying to sell you their product. So they're not telling you to place ads.
Right. Right.
Like, but if you look back at your top posts, your reels or your top static posts in your Instagram feed or anywhere, if you're on TikTok or whatever, I would think about maybe just like spending $100 one month and boosting those.
Right.
And just saying like, use the target audience that they identify, use the like presets basically like to get more followers and see what your growth is like.
Right.
Because what that's going to do is it's just going to show it to more people. So don't buy followers. Don't do one of these like crazy things. Like do not do that. Just pay Meta, whatever, to boost those posts to show it to more people And if the content is good, then they're going to engage with it more. And because since you're already an established business, it might be worth it to you to spend a couple $100s a month.
Oh, for sure.
Doing it to grow a bigger audience.
Right. Yeah.
So I would definitely start there. And then I would probably try to be posting every day.
Yeah. I would say we post probably 4 to 6 times a week.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So
I'd try in the beginning for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to go consistently, 6 days a week for 30 days and see how that goes, or 30 reels in 30 days or whatever. If you're feeling like that's really a part of your business, you want to expand.
Yeah. And I think that it's just social media in general is just going to allow that reach to be greater. And I think in looking at long-term goals, I would love to see this practice grow and be more of an authority in maternal mental health and able to do research and provide that to people and just really expand the group practice across multiple states. I feel that all the ideas are there, but it's getting from this little baby business into global empire. No, I'm just kidding. But
I love it. Yeah.
Getting to that point, I'm with our 269 followers, which I'm so thankful and
everybody starts at 1. Okay.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah,
I think I started with just
true.
my mom,
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. No, this is true.
So I would say every day, consistently, spend some money boosting them. And then I would have people look at it that are moms and say, is this what you actually want to be hearing? Could it be different? Right. Show it to your mom friends at the park and be like, is this actually is hitting for you or not?
Yeah.
And you could do some collaborations with other moms on Instagram. And the other thing is, it doesn't have to be Instagram.
Yes.
It could be a podcast. It could be Facebook. It could be something else,
Yeah. Yeah. We do post everything to Facebook also. And my colleague Sarah got me on TikTok.
Yeah.
She's I know all you consume is Instagram. She's but I only consume TikTok. She's and we are the same person. So.
You might as well. I mean, you might as well repost all of, I feel about 6 months ago, I was okay, I got to get serious about TikTok, which was way late to the game. But I'm glad I did, because you can repost everything that you post on Instagram to TikTok, all of your reels,
Right. Exactly. And I feel we're primarily leaning into just reels right now anyway, just because that's what's performing the best, even though, they say they're going to 50-50 split that. That's not.
Right.
They lie.
They lie.
Hey, therapists. Are you listening to the show and thinking, I really want to launch my own private practice, but I have no idea where to start? Make sure to check out Kelley's Private Practice Roadmap course. In the course, Kelley gives you the exact steps you need to open your own thriving practice. You can find the link below in the show notes.
So when you think about the next 5 or 6 years of this business, what are you kind of envisioning for it or hoping?
Oh, man. Okay. I did prepare for this. And in a come to Jesus moment with myself also of just what, where do I want this to go? What do I want this to truly look like? So being an authority more so in the maternal mental health space, people looking to us and thinking that we are knowing that we're the experts, knowing that we have that backed, we have the experience backed.
Okay, let's stop there, because I think you have you have bullet points, huh?
I do.
You're like me. I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm bullet points. So let's go bullet point by bullet point and just talk about what do you need to do to get there. So being an authority in the maternal mental health space, that's do you talk at any conferences? That's giving some conference presentations.
Yeah, that is a goal. That's definitely a goal. I'm getting my perinatal mental health certification. I actually test on Tuesday.
Oh, the PSI thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who've just done it.
Fingers crossed that goes through. But yeah, so doing that, definitely would love to present at a conference.
Yeah.
Conferences.
And that's not something you need a big social media following for. That helps you build your following and like start small, you know, you said you guys have a booth at the women's, what is it?
Yeah. The Prego Expo.
Perfect. You know, like I could be at like the Santa Barbara moms pep group. You like start like really small and then just keep getting bigger. You know, you start out doing it for free and then it just keeps bundling. Bundling is the wrong word. What is it? Like snowballing? Yeah, that.
Snowballing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking
I
of
just picture like
conferences,
rolling down the hill and becoming a snowball.
right?
That's literally what I picture.
Me too. It's like my life right now. Okay, so authority figure. So you're already working on your social media presence.
Yes.
And what else? Like I'm trying to think of what else, you know, in our industry that could be like writing a book. That could, I mean, we're talking 4 to 5 year goals, you know?
Correct.
Maternal mental health.
And like another, I guess like a few people that I really look to more in like the motherhood space, like taking care of babies, feeding littles, mom well, like they're all so awesome and like so inspiring. And I know, like, I feel like I want it to be like whenever my toddler's waking up in the middle of the night and I go and I Google whatever the problem is taking care of babies, because I know she's going to have the answer.
Right.
That's how I want people
for
to
maternal
look for
mental health.
For maternal mental health.
So I'll say, as somebody who is a big fan of taking care of babies, she gets brought up on this podcast all the time. I think that's social media all the way. I don't know her personally. But I feel like I've met with people that know her and like all sorts of stuff. And it's like, she is like the queen of social media.
She is the queen. I feel like she's like one of the OGs, and it's just crazy to see her growth.
But I don't think that that's unattainable. You know, I mean, I think that one thing I noticed, like, she's a baby sleep person. That's her thing. Right. And I think she's a nurse. So like, it's good because she has like the credentialing. And so, but that's the same thing for you as a therapist. You have the credentialing. You're not just coming in to it without credentials.
Right.
And so, number one, it's 100% possible to build that kind of following. It's not like rocket science. So if you were to look back at her page or some of the other ones you're saying, who else did you say? Feeding Littles.
Yeah.
And Speech Sisters and all of them. If you look at many of their pages and you really look at what they're doing, a lot of times you'll see a lot of patterns of the way they're growing, you know?
Right.
And I think like looking at that and saying, okay, how do I apply some of these similar concepts of the way they're communicating with moms, the way they're talking to moms, the way they position themselves as an expert, and they're like vulnerable, but not too, they're not like,
right.
You know, they're like, I struggle with this too. Here's something I struggle with. And here's here's the solution. And, you know, I always think it's like one person on my team said yesterday, like the 80-20 rule, like they're giving away 80% of their information, but the 20 they're saving, you know?
Yes.
And I noticed that with Care Babies as I took all her classes.
Yes, me too.
I'm like $1,000 into Care Baby shit. And, but if you notice, like you look at her blog posts or something, like they'll give away some information about wake windows and stuff, but you want the rest of that, you're in the course.
Correct.
You know?
No, for sure.
But I would scroll back. If I were you, I would go to each one of those influencers in the mom space that you love. I would go all the way to their bottom of their feed and then start looking at what point did they grow? What did they change? What, you know, like, and look at their progression
for them.
I mean, you're going to have to like really scroll it up.
Really scroll.
Yeah. But I think it can be helpful to look at like the mom influencers or any influencers in the mental health space that you like and look at the bottom of their feed and say, okay, what worked for this person?
Oh, 100%. And like even just, I feel like even just switching my brain sometimes from like a consumer to a business owner has been crazy to see. Like someone mention like, even just like a regular influencer, like, oh, I need like something for my hair. Oh, I'm so greasy or it's not growing or whatever. And then like 3 weeks later, they're promoting like, oh, here's Divi or here's this or whatever. And I'm like, God, that's so smart. They just like,
they set it up,
sprinkled it in there and it feels so organic. And it probably like, I would say maybe some of it is like, obviously I'm not going to be selling like
shampoo,
hair growth stuff. But
yeah, don't. I see some therapists do it and I'm like, oh, please don't.
No.
Don't. Yeah.
That is not the goal.
Right.
But like just in terms of like how like the setup for things, I'm like, wow, that's really smart.
Yeah. It's amazing once you start really looking, if you just start really looking at some of the therapists and just wellness professionals in the online space, and you start looking at it like, what is this person doing from a business perspective? You start to really notice some trends, you know? And
For
like
sure.
now I feel like I can't look at, like, I don't really look at Instagram anymore, like for fun.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like it's all like, okay, how did they do this? Or what audio are they using? Or, oh, okay,
Me
they did it
too.
like this or they did that. That was really engaging. Let me write that down.
I know. It's like, it's like a little work. Okay. What's bullet point number 2?
Let's see. Like courses / live and virtual workshops. So that's something that we've talked about in terms of like, and I guess like my hesitation there. And I guess like you said before, you grow, these things take time to develop, like continue to grow as they're happening. But also don't require a huge following either, since we are community based.
100%. So the question is, okay, it's summer now. Could you do one workshop in your community before the end of the year?
Yes. 100%.
So do that. I mean, start with, I think even as we're thinking about Cara Babies, I'm pretty sure I've heard her talk about that's how she started. Like just teaching baby classes. So like, you promote that to all a free event for moms in postpartum. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you just have to start it. So maybe you start it as a live event. Maybe that ends up being a group, like you don't need an audience for that. But as you build your audience, those events make you look like more of an authority figure in the space anyway. So it's good for social media content too.
Right. Okay. Going on the paper.
Do it.
I love it.
What about doing any like teaching in the continuing education space for maternal mental health?
Yes, I've also thought about that and trying to figure out how to even like become like an accredited person to give like CEs. But I would love to do that because I feel like right now, love PSI and they are a wealth of knowledge. But like if you don't, outside of their like 2-day course, they don't really have like, an hour here, 2 hours there for like lectures and stuff. Or if you're getting on like CE Broker to renew your license, like there's really not that much. So I'm like, that has crossed my mind also.
I mean, you don't even necessarily have to be accredited for CEs if you just do it with a CE company. Like I know I did one for Simple Practice.
Okay.
And like I got paid by the presentation, and then they are like a CE provider, and then they make money, I'm assuming, off of, you know what I mean? Like you could just do it. In some ways it's easier because they like other CE companies already have a following. It's just like another way to get your name out there.
Right. No, that's smart. So kind of like approaching them.
Or being, it's kind of similar to like being like if you were a guest blogger on a very popular mommy blog, like Scary Mommy, or I love Scary Mommy. Or like,
I've also thought about that, like trying to approach like different publications in terms of like, can I write an article for you? Or
yeah, why not? I mean, I think all of those things, like anything that doesn't take an audience allows you time to build an audience.
Right.
Like I think it's like kind of like you brand you guys before you brand a product.
Right.
Like
that makes sense.
When you think of Cara Babies, you think of Cara. When you think of Speech Sisters, you think of the sisters, like before you think of what they do. Correct. And so I think it's more like you're in the phase of like building the brand that is you guys.
The personal brand. Right.
Yeah. And even some local publications, like I know here in Santa Barbara, we have something called like Mesa Living, which is just like a 10-page glossy thing, and like there's columns from like a dentist in there, and like but like just you start out small and you put those things on your website and you get featured more and more, and I mean, I think some of the places I got featured early on were like the Cedar Sinai newsletter, Like, you know, I mean, it wasn't like,
I love it.
but then you slowly like, you know.
Right. Like people see that and they're like, oh, okay. You know what you're talking about. Or they do a quick Google search and your name is showing up. So they're like, oh yeah, she could write for me or come on my podcast or whatever.
Exactly. And there's a service called Help a Reporter Out. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you signed up for it?
Yes. And like I had
it's overwhelming.
Like one line in Bustle one time.
Yeah. But then you put the Bustle logo on your website with a link back to that line.
Right.
It's like been featured in Bustle, like, or whatever, you know?
That's true.
That's like an easy, like, people love Bustle, you know? And that could be a good one to do. And like, just don't take too long doing. I mean, it gets overwhelming, but like that could be.
Yeah. It does. It does.
Okay. What's your next bullet point? How many we have? Did we get through them?
We have a few more.
Tell us.
Larger group practice with administrative support. So kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. Wanting to expand to more like US.
Yeah.
Potentially international if that ever presents itself, but definitely like more states than just Florida.
I love it. So the biggest question you have to ask yourself is that cash-based or is that insurance? That comes back to the same, because if it's insurance, it's like it's a totally different thing. So it comes back to the same
and then
question.
Thinking through like, you know, if that eventually got big enough, then I could have the administrative support to
have them do everything.
Run that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with all that. So that's come back to point A. Okay, next one.
Okay. Fulfilling fatherhood is like a concept. So to go hand in hand with fulfilling motherhood, like be like kind of a brother company specifically for dads and focused on dads. And in my head, I would love to have like all male therapists, just like little unicorn selves, like out there supporting dads, like
I love
passionate. So
I love that.
That is another one.
Got to meet some first. I mean, maybe you have some people. I don't know.
Yeah, I have like one friend who's a therapist. That's a guy, and he's definitely a unicorn. Spanish speaking. He's amazing, but he has his own practice. I don't think he's going to come work for me.
It doesn't have to be a work for you type of thing. It could be a one weekend program. Do you know what I mean? Like it could be a 1 day retreat for couples and there's like fulfilling motherhood and fulfilling fatherhood. Like it doesn't have to be a business. It can be like a mutual marketing opportunity, you know?
Look at that. I need more of you in my life.
I need myself in my own life. It's way easier to be on outside of someone else's life, right?
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. And then my last thing is I would love to have a podcast. So our blog is called Motherhood Unraveled. So I would love to make a podcast like off of that. And
you could do that now. That doesn't require you to have a big audience.
Yeah, I guess not.
It requires one of two things. And it's really a choice. It either, because I'm doing it, and like if you saw my setup right now, you'd be like, oh yeah, I could do that. Because like my camera's like sitting on this guest bed and like the microphone, like I'm just that anyway. Okay, I'll show you after we get off the podcast. But you either need to be willing to edit it and put it out yourself, or you need to be willing to pay someone to do it.
Right.
And if you're an established business, it might be worth it to you to hire someone to help you edit it and put it out on all the podcast platforms. And you decide how often you want to do it. You decide what your topic is, and then you do it. And the good thing I think about early motherhood, especially, is moms listen to podcasts.
That's true.
They're walking those babies around.
They are.
So that you could do in 2024 or 2023 if you really decided to hustle.
No, I'm like 2024, please.
Right?
Give me time.
But it's definitely having a podcast is not as hard as it seems. Having a profitable podcast does require an audience.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. And I think like the goal in this is to eventually, just like personally, I would love to be able to take a step back by the time I'm like 55-ish. Like,
You
I
got
don't
a
want
while, dude.
Yeah.
How about by the I mean, like, how old are you now?
I'm 30.
Okay, so 50, that's 25 years from... Wait. Yeah, it's 25 years from now. Let's, like, take a step back in, like, 3 years from now.
Yeah. No, this is true. This is true. But I'm like, I would love to be able to build, like, something that by the time I am that age, to just be able to, like, really sit back and enjoy the passiveness of it all sooner. Like, I would love to have passive income sooner than that.
I mean, shit, if we're giving it a 25-year span, if you start today on the podcast and the social media and the speaking, like, oh my God. You know, most people come to me and they're like, next year. I'm like, you know, maybe, but like.
No, and I definitely recognize that things like take time. Actually, like as like right before I got on here, I saw like Feeding Littles posted, oh, we released our like infant course 7 years ago today. And I was just like, wow, that was like a really good like take back for me. Yeah. Just in a sense of like, I'm seeing them at their prime or, you know, height peak of their careers. And, you know, in 7 years, where will I be? So
but I mean, you know what I'm going to say is like, you just have to start doing it.
Just to start.
You got to pick like the 3 most important things for 2024. Whether they're the podcast, whether it's social media, whether it's speaking events in your community, and then, or maybe all 3, I don't know. And then do them.
For sure. Make a plan, get it done.
Because none of those things they're more work and less work than you probably think. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think like when you think about podcasts, it's like more, for me, I didn't do it for a while because I thought like, I have no idea how to like, what camera to use. Or like, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, wait, I could pay someone to help me figure out the answer to that question.
Right.
You know?
No, 100%.
So where, as you think about your next action steps just in the next year, what sounds fun to you?
Definitely speaking.
Yeah.
Doing some workshops. You know, we're getting involved with like the Prego Expo, so that's exciting. Kind of seeing how that goes. I would love to like be able to table more and kind of engage people.
Lots of pictures, take a ton of pictures and reels.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I have like a whole plan for our booth. It's going to be great. Yeah, because I feel like people are not going to stop at, oh, we're like a therapy place here. So actually, when we were at the PSI conference, there was a group from Nashville that was there, but they were selling merch and it was super cute, like just very simple. They were making it themselves, but it was like therapy, but first therapy or therapy is cool. And that was like the only 2 things that they offered. But I'm like, ooh, I can make a t-shirt. Yeah. Like that's not hard. So I'm like, attract moms in with like the cute in my mama era or whatever.
Yeah, I want one. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm like, attract people in with like that stuff, a cute photo op, and be like, but we're also therapists. Yeah. And here's like our workbook on like how to be prepared as you enter postpartum. Like that's my thought.
I love it.
So like working on that workbook, working on kind of getting that through that is going to be a big one. And I feel like they come like twice a year to Florida. So that would be exciting to be at.
What else?
Let's see.
2024. So you're saying getting more involved, some more live events for clients, right?
Yes.
Some more doing the Prego Expo. What about having some sort of event like for doulas in your city?
Oh, that would be good.
Or some sort of like appreciation event for prenatal providers.
Right. That's a smart one. And like a really good networking.
Like a good gift basket, I'm envisioning. Maybe a little raffle, yummy lunch.
Right.
And then you invite all those referral sources that you normally have.
Yeah. No, I love that.
So this is all smart. For your business brand. What do you want for the you brand?
Going self-pay, for sure. Like, I don't know. It's so easy to just think in terms of as a whole.
Well, let me ask you this. If we get to next summer, where do you hope you'll be with your own growth?
Oh. Like personally, professionally?
Yeah, in your career.
Yeah. Hopefully 100% self-pay. I'd like to know that I'm being a good leader to my team, able to, I don't know, be asked to do things versus like pitching myself to people, get asked to do something.
Yeah. I will say I still pitch myself a lot. Yeah. I have almost 50,000 followers on Instagram and I still pitch myself. So I don't know. I mean, I get asked, but like I'm still putting it in.
Putting yourself out there. Yeah.
I mean, just so you don't feel like you get to a year and you're like, oh, what if the goal is you show up as the best leader you can for your team. You navigate how you're going to help each person on your team make decisions about insurance versus cash pay and marketing. And you're going to do your best growth around that and seek out guidance and mentorship for that. Number one. Number two, you're going to personally transition to cash pay, which means personally getting out and marketing yourself a lot more in your specific community.
Right.
And then your business as a whole is going to put on, let's say, 3 events next year of some type, whether it's like a gratitude lunch for doulas, whether it's a fatherhood co-retreat, whether it's one of the other ones we mentioned, which of course, like I'm ADHD and drawing a blank. And then for your personal brand, and it's not really personal, but for like the selling you guys, maybe the goal is like 1,000 Instagram followers by next summer.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe
I
more.
hope so. Dear Jesus.
I was going to say maybe more than that, but like that's a very moderate goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a lot. That's a lot. Especially showing up for your team in the way that you want, and I think it would be wise to get a lot of guidance around that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that is definitely something that I'm like looking for and want to further explore.
Yeah. Well, there's some really wonderful group practice people who really coach on group practice in this space. And I can link their names in the show notes and also give you some
that'd be
too.
Awesome. That'd be super awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. My question for you is, anyone who's listening to this more than likely is like, wow, I want to be actually right where you are now. And so I'm wondering for earlier career therapists out there, if you have anything you wish you had known to get where you are now.
Find consultation early on. Find like-minded early therapists like yourself who are in just starting out in practice. Like I have a consultation group with a few colleagues that has been super beneficial just to bounce ideas and everything. We just meet once a month. So find that really good network of people that can help support you and guide you along. Follow Kelley.
All right. Thank you so much for being on. We'll have to have a part 2 of this in next summer or something and see where you're at.
Love it.
And we'll see everyone later.
Awesome. Bye.
Ask Kelley Anything is just around the corner. But first, a word from our sponsor. Stay tuned for Kelley's response to your private practice questions.
Therapists, do you want more clients at your full cash rate? Mentaya is a platform that navigates out-of-network benefits for clients. They get clients on average 70% back on therapy by filing claims and chasing down insurance companies. They handle literally everything so that you can focus on what matters. Click the link in the show notes to learn more and get 1 month free using the code PRO.
Hello, and welcome back to Ask Kelley Anything. We have a great question today, so let's dive in.
Hi, Kelley. My name is Rochelle, and I just had a quick question. So I recently became an associate back in February, and right out of the gate, I joined a private practice, and we are responsible to finding our own client referrals, which has been challenging. So I just had a question. What are some tips and tricks for an associate looking to get good quality referrals? I have a website, and I really specialized my website to be, oriented towards my niche. I have a Psychology Today. I'm a part of, various Facebook groups, looking for referrals there. I'm a part of Zen Care and Reflect, which guarantee client referrals. And, I recognize that building a business takes a long time. It's not an overnight process. And so I am really trying to be patient, but I'm just wondering if you have any feedback for, tips and tricks that you might have. So thank you. Bye.
All right, Raquel, this is a really good question, and I think a really common one during pre-licensure. So if you're in a state where pre-licensed therapists can work in private practice, oftentimes practices will want you to bring in your own referrals. And sometimes it can feel tricky when you're first starting out to know, okay, well, how do I get those as a pre-licensed therapist and what do I do? But I would say the very first thing that really stuck out to me in the ways that you've already said that you're marketing your private practice is that they are all online. Right before recording this segment, I was recording a podcast episode with an established therapist who has a big following on Instagram, who has been in practice for a while. And we were reflecting on the fact that even when you have a big online following, oftentimes the best quality referrals that feel like a warm handoff from one person to another really come from other providers or past clients. And so the first thing I would encourage you to do is get involved in some sort of consultation group or professional organization of therapists in your city and really start to build lasting kind of professional friendships with other therapists where you are. I think it's so important to not only kind of go direct to clients through online content, but also to start cultivating referral relationships. Because so often as therapists, if you think about just trying to find a therapist yourself, maybe often we ask friends, right? Or we ask our doctor, or we ask friends who are therapists, or if we ask friends if their therapist knows somebody, right? And so I think it's important to start thinking about who are the other providers in your city that see your ideal client or see something tangential to your ideal client. So maybe, for example, you see teens and other therapists see couples who have teen children or something like that. You want to kind of start thinking, who are the other people that have access to your ideal client? And can you just call them up and start asking them to coffee and get to know people? This would be definitely the first step I would pursue. And I would challenge yourself to not only market yourself online, but also in person. I hope this helps.
If you would like to be featured on Ask Kelley Anything, I love getting listener questions from you guys. Anything about private practice goes. And the best way to do that is actually just to give me a call and leave me a question on my voicemail. So I'm going to tell you the phone number right now and make sure to write it down. Here it is, 805-243-8241. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for being part of Season 3 of the Private Practice Pro Podcast, where we empower therapists to successfully launch, build, and grow their private practices. While Kelley is on maternity leave, we assure you that she'll be back soon, ready to share even more valuable insights. Stay connected with us on our social media channels to be the first to know when Season 4 kicks off, bringing you more invaluable lessons on practice success.